If you grew up in California during the 1970s and early 1980s, there were a few names you just didn't want to hear on the news. Among them was a name that rarely made the headlines until it was almost too late. Randy Kraft. Welcome back to True Crime with Jackson. Today we're taking a close, unsettling look at the notorious Scorecard Killer, a man who for nearly a decade haunted the highways of Southern California, quietly etching his own horrifying record. Randy Kraft didn't look the part. Born in 1945, he grew up in California, raised in a strict household near Long Beach. By all accounts, his early years were unremarkable. He went to college, studied economics, worked regular jobs, tried to fit in. But something dark simmered just beneath the surface. Friends later described him as intelligent but emotionally distant, someone who always kept just a little out of reach. Kraft joined the Air Force in his early 20s, but his time there was short-lived. By 1969, he'd been discharged on the grounds of unsuitability. He bounced from job to job, holding down positions in computer programming, always maintaining the appearance of normalcy. But his real life didn't take place in daylight. Beginning in the early 1970s, Kraft embarked on a chilling spree. For years, young men began vanishing around Southern California. These were not just random disappearances. Some were hitchhikers, some were military men. Most were found days or weeks later, lifeless, abandoned along highways, their deaths marked by baroque cruelty. And for the longest time, no one connected the dots. Here's the thing. Southern California at the time was already dealing with a surge of unsolved murders at the hands of multiple killers. Police had their hands full, and the crimes just kept coming. Kraft became a ghost, a phantom presence along the Pacific Coast Highway and Interstate 5. No one was sure if the same person was responsible for any of it. But Kraft had his own system. Police would later find a handwritten list stashed in his car. On it, 61 notations, each a cryptic reference matched to a victim, a date, a place, or sometimes just a nickname. This was his scorecard, an inventory of agony kept for personal posterity. Nobody knows why he kept it. Pride, compulsion, arrogance, but it was there in his own handwriting. Night after night, Kraft cruised the highways in his gray Mustang or his faded sedan. He'd stop at bars or military bases, looking for young men. Late teens, early 20s, sometimes as young as 16. Often he'd offer a drink, a ride, or an escape to someone who looked lost or lonely. He was charming, or at least disarming. Many victims got in willingly, with no clue what would happen next. Kraft's methods were calculated and brutal. He often drugged his victims, then subjected them to extended periods of torture before ending their lives. Police would later note a chilling consistency in his crimes. Ropes, binding materials, and prescription drugs found either on the scene or among his possessions. For years, the crimes remained unsolved, scattered between counties and jurisdictions that were poor at sharing information. Years went by. Victims mounted, dozens by some counts, but the exact number remains uncertain, hidden between police reports and unsolved cases. All this time, Kraft kept working, kept showing up to social events, kept his relationships going. He even maintained a long-term partner who by all accounts had no idea about Kraft's double life. It wasn't until 1983 that his reign finally ended. In the early hours of May 14th, an officer in Orange County noticed a car weaving erratically down the freeway. He pulled the driver over. It was Kraft. His passenger, a 25-year-old Marine, was dead in the front seat. There was no hiding it anymore. Inside Kraft's car, police found a cache. Alcohol, prescription drugs, bindings, pictures of young men, some still missing, and of course, the infamous scorecard. Police arrested him on the spot. Over the next months, as investigators dug deeper, Kraft's secret world unraveled. The trial was a media circus, the evidence overwhelming. Witness after witness described the strange man who seemed to leave no trace. The scorecard and the personal items of dozens of victims sealed his fate. In 1989, Randy Kraft was convicted of 16 counts of murder, though authorities widely believe he was responsible for at least twice as many. He was sentenced to death, joining the long list of California's death row inmates, where to this day he remains. His legacy is a cold one, a calculated series of murders hidden in plain sight, a man who moved from city to city with eerie silence, Police and families are still matching names to numbers on the scorecard, hoping for closure in cases that once seemed hopeless. For the people of Southern California, Kraft's case was a turning point. It forced better communication between police agencies and forever changed how serial crimes were investigated along the highways. That's the story of Randy Kraft, the Scorecard Killer, an unassuming man with a monstrous secret. Stay safe out there, and remember, even in broad daylight, some of the world's darkest stories begin with a simple drive down the highway. This is True Crime with Jackson. Thanks for watching.